So, Everett, free will, determinism, hands down the second most popular topic on YouTube, right after theism, non-theism, right? So far, I've stayed aloof from this debate, but yeah, you posted a response to one of my vids, so I figured I'd go ahead and respond back. So I watched your vid, and I actually watched a couple of your other vids, and let me start out by saying a couple of things I really like about your videos and about how you approach the subject. The first one is I really liked the vid that you made where you were talking about the fallibility of subjective consciousness experience. Yes. People give way too much credence to first-person points of view, this Cartesian thing, like, the one thing that I can't doubt is my own conscious experiences. Yeah, you can doubt your own conscious experiences, and you should, in many cases, doubt your conscious experiences. So, this I really like about your standpoint. The other thing that I liked about your vids was, especially your vids on quantum mechanics, where you're emphasizing that basically what quantum mechanics says is that we don't know whether or not the universe is deterministic or non-deterministic. Yeah, there's more interpretations of quantum mechanics out there now than there are of, like, Camus' novel The Stranger, right? I mean, talking about, the real meaning of quantum mechanics is kind of like talking about what the real meaning of the white whale is, right? It's really like gotten into Talmudic exegesis kind of thing. So, basically the upshot is we don't know whether or not the universe is deterministic or not. We just don't know, and I really appreciate the fact that you emphasized that and underscored that. That's something that needs to be said louder and oftener here on YouTube. Okay, so you made a statement such that there's no evidence for free will that we have. Another one, not your response to me, but to another, a response to another fellow. You said basically you compared it to, like, saying, subjective first-person experiences of free will are kind of like subjective first-person experiences of the divine or the presence of God or something like this. Yes, I completely agree. Arguing for free will from a first-person perspective is as bootless as arguing for the reality of God from a first-person perspective. So let me present some evidence to you for free will, which is not of this nature. I'm not going to be arguing from a first-person perspective. I am a neo-pragmatist, and the toolbox that we use to handle these sorts of things are linguistic analysis, and not a subjective standpoint, but an intersubjective standpoint. Okay, what's important for us is not what I and my own little hidey hole and my own little conscious phaneron perceive and see, but what's important for us is how people interact with each other and how we cooperatively together describe and cope with our world. So so that's the standpoint I come from, and as a pragmatist, I'm much more interested in is it useful to adopt a certain standpoint, or what does it buy me if I buy into a certain worldview than that. So that's the standpoint that I like to do this from. Now, from this standpoint, okay, it is absolutely useless to try to treat people, human beings, as if they were input-output machines, deterministic machines. This will get you nowhere. I mean, the most vivid example of this is children. I don't know if you have any children yet. I just sent a couple of my kids off to college, actually, so I've got a couple sons about your age. If you are raising children, okay, it is completely useless to try to treat these children as if they were input-output machines, okay? New parents will often make this mistake, okay? They will say, you know, I won't let my kid watch any evil shows on television. I will totally ban them from everything. I will not let them see an evil book, you know. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work that way. Parents think, you know, if I give my children this perfect environment, this perfect world little thing here for them, and, you know, don't get me wrong, environment is very important this way, but you can, if you have two kids, right, and you can give them the same environment, and you can see what happens, you know, each one of them is going to have separate preferences. And you take each one of them into the store and say, okay, which toy would you like? They have very definite opinions about which toy they like. They have very definite, you know, desires and drives. Also, if you want to get your kids to do something, it is completely bootless to treat it as some sort of stimulus response system. It just doesn't work. You know, you have to use persuasion. You have to treat them as if they are you know, independent, rational agents themselves, and you can talk to them and you can reason with them, and you know, if you take this stance toward them, they will surprise you. They will respond in kind. So I'm going to post a link to one of my vids, which goes into more detail about you know, what types of information we can have about agents and humans and things like this, and why you know, why it really is important to treat people as if they had free will. So I think this sort of standpoint overcomes a lot of the problems with the subjectivistic standpoint, saying, you know, I feel like I have free will, therefore I have free will. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. That's the wrong way to approach it. But if you approach it as, you know, is it useful for me to treat people as if they had free will? Is it useful for me to treat myself as if I had free will? Or if we are trying to make a society together, all right? If we're trying to cooperate on a task, if we're trying to get something done, if we're trying to understand why people are conflicting with each other, or if we're trying to understand and describe and rationalize somebody's behavior, I think it is doing without free will is a pragmatic impossibility, really. I mean, you have to treat people as if they had free will. If you disagree with me, okay, I would ask a couple of things, okay? I watched a lot of your vids. I don't think you ever really gave a definition of free will there. So I would ask you to really define what it is that you're arguing against. What do you mean by free will? What do you mean by not having free will? And you know, what exactly do you mean when you say people don't have free will? And another question is, if you say that there's no evidence for free will, okay, you know, from that definition of free will, can you show that it's impossible to give evidence for that sort of a thing? Or you know, is this just, you know, an accident that we haven't come across any evidence for this yet? Or, you know, is it like conceptually impossible for there to be evidence for this kind of thing? Yeah, so cheers.